Hey friend, this is Farid Primani with Ignite the Spark again today. And today our speaker and mentor of the day is Katie, who is a learning management solutions expert. And she's been running digital startups and doing similar to something what I'm trying to do with Ignite the Spark to bring in mentors and trying to ignite the spark, speaking on careers, achievements, how entrepreneurs turned out to be from nowhere to such a high level. She started something called Fuel the Spark and Fuel on Fire, and it's good that universe sometimes try to connect you with like-minded people who wants to make a difference. So we are open to your suggestions, and this will be like a 15-minute talk where we'll discuss on our personality. Learning management is a very high-end career, and as you see that everything is now moved towards e-learning. A lot of big corporates, Fortune 500 companies are moving from that physical personal level of training to the high $1 million systems. So we'll talk on about that, learning from Katie, and we'll see how there were turning points in her life and the secret sauce behind her. So, hey Katie, how you doing?
Hi, good afternoon. How are you, Fred?
Good afternoon. How's everything going? Nice to see you.
Good. I'm glad we got connected so easily. That wasn't bad at all.
Perfect, perfect. This Facebook feature is a new one and it works on phone only. That's why there are some hiccups, but glad to have you here. And I was talking to audience, just sharing your achievements, and something similar you started. Remember, you discussed fuel on fire just to make some difference back. So this is how
Yeah,
universe
it was
connects us.
basically the same thing that it's literally what you do. I had a very similar idea about 2 years ago called Find Your Fire because, having meaningful work and something that you find important is really important.
Right, right. There you go. And I see you've been doing a lot of other startups. So do share us about that, on the diet and fitness side, your achievements. We saw that brilliant level of marketing you did about the show. So hats off. Uh,
Thank you.
so I just did a one-liner elevator speech, but I'll throw the ball in your court. So Katie, walk us through your success journey of who you are right now about learning management as a brilliant career. It's new booming thing in demand. Not many people know about it, especially with the transition of digital world and content. People are moving from physical training and public speaking towards e-learning as $1 million systems. How you turned out from
Yeah.
basic level job, what were the turning point, who you are today, why you are today, and how you did that. So over to you.
Okay, sure. Thank you. I just want to throw it back to you for a second. I really appreciate you inviting me on today. I have, got all over the internet to see what you're all about, and I'm really excited to just be here with you and with your audience and hopefully connect some of the people that we know together. So thank you for having me.
Sure.
I see everybody that's joining. Hi, Leah, Brandon, Aunt Linda. Hi, James L. How are you? Thank you all for getting on. Um, we only have a few minutes, so I'm going to jump right in. And Fareed, I'm a talker, so you can just wave and tell me to be quiet if I get going too long.
Go on then.
Um,
Sure.
but to give you a little to give you a little background about me, I'm 33 years old and I live in Maryland. I'm a mother of two, and a lot of people when they're growing up, they know what they want to do. Raise your hand or give a little like or a heart if you're out there and you knew what you wanted to be when you were younger. A lot of people know. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a teacher, a doctor. I was never that person. I never had any idea what I wanted to do. And I was always so jealous of those people. I'm like, how do they know? Because I never liked anything enough to like do it forever. I was like, okay, well that's cool, but I don't want to do that forever. Or I'm good at this, but I don't want that to be my job. So it was a very long journey for me. And I think probably a lot of your audience can identify with that because it's really hard to find your passion, your niche, what you're good at, and what you want to spend the rest of your life doing. So when I was in high school, I'm gonna try and keep this very short, but when I was in high school, I took my first psychology class, and I really just thought it was super fascinating. I thought how similar people can be, how different we can be, how the mind works, how you can manipulate the mind to, help people and teach them and all those things. I just thought it was fascinating. So I sort of went into college to get my bachelor's degree with the idea that I would be a clinical psychologist and help the world because that was cool.
Right.
Um, right before, I think it was my junior year of college, I took a serving job at IHOP
Okay.
for my summer job. I just needed money and I had never been a server before, and it was my summer job. But the training for that job, you kind of look at something like that and you're like, okay, this is easy. I get water, I go order food, I bring the food out. But I got no training. They put me with someone for 2 days. I followed that person around. I didn't know where to find things. I didn't know how to work the computer. I didn't know how to do anything.
Mm.
And so then they put me out to work and they give me customers and I have no clue what I'm doing. And I'm like a grown up, I'm a smart person and I can't find creamer for the coffee and I don't know how to add cheese to an omelet. It was these very simple things that I knew if someone had showed me a little bit more about it, I could do it well, but I was failing as a server at IHOP because I didn't have the tools and the
Mm.
education that I needed. Fast
Mm.
forward to the next summer, I got a very similar job at Red Robin, and that was a 10-day training program. They had a dedicated trainer there. You spent an hour a
Mm.
day, you had a booklet, you learned the menu, you got a tour of the restaurant, you met everybody in the kitchen and had to actually prepare food.
Mm.
They took you through the computer and showed you how to make the drinks and all that. So by the time that I actually was, client facing and with customers, I was super comfortable. I knew how to do everything I needed to do, and I was able to be a really good employee for that company. And I wanted to be a good employee for IHOP, but they didn't provide the right training, so it was very difficult for me to do that. So those two
So in just
experiences
one minute,
together.
I'm trying to just take out of the training because there are a lot of questions I want to roll out with you so that audience can learn. But that's interesting. So in
Sure.
1 year time at IHOP from nowhere, you learned a lot, and in kind of 1 year time, you turn out to be like employee, the best amongst the best employees at that place, right? So
Kind of. I was a pretty good. I only worked at IHOP for a couple months, but yeah, I got good at it eventually.
So how did you, what was the turning point, Katie, that you moved from these odd jobs as everybody we see these days, especially in this recession when they say there are no jobs, especially graduates
Mhm.
also turn out to be worried about what will we do, and we unfortunately see some master students also jobless because competition is huge. So what was that turning point? And you're an honest lady. I really respect and appreciate that because nobody actually shares so much transparently as you are. So hats off to you. So from that
Thank
level,
you.
earning minimum wages and high up being a confused employee and then proving yourself there at level one, what was the turning point that you got into this level where you are like a learning management head for such a good healthcare company? What was that point and how did you transition to that point?
Sure. A lot of the things that you just said definitely impacted me. I graduated. I went on from that to get a master's degree in leadership development because I found that my passion was training.
Mm-hmm.
And when I graduated in 2008 with a master's degree, and the recession was like live. I mean, there was no jobs anywhere. It was really difficult, especially for a new graduate and a young professional to find work. So I kind of started at the bottom. I went back to the restaurant industry. It wasn't what I wanted to do forever, but I found opportunities, even though day to day I was, managing a restaurant. I found every opportunity I could to work in training, to create training programs, to figure out how to get results and figure out how the things that I knew how to do could fit into a business.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for about 5 years, working in restaurants. I did become a regional training manager. I worked for Darden restaurant groups. I did all these things, but my goal was to learn how to actually do what I knew how to do. I went to college, I learned it, but I had never actually done it. And so you go through these experiences and you figure out it's not as easy as you think. Everybody wants to learn and get better. No, they don't. They really don't want to stop what they're doing to learn something new. They don't. It's hard and it takes away from they feel their productivity. But at the end of the day, developing your employees and getting that engagement and helping them continue to grow, it's not just good for them, but it's good for your business. So I learned all that. And the turning point for me really was when I broke out of the restaurant industry. I loved it. I met so many wonderful people. It was a great experience, but it just wasn't where my heart was. And I got an office job and I learned sort of the management side of training. I was actually selling training programs. And then I got into a life sciences position, and that's where I got into LMS. So I'm not technical. I used to pay people to do my computer homework in college, I'm not gonna lie. So, going into that part of this business and this field really made me nervous because I'm not a computer person. I'm a people person, and but LMS systems are training today. That is how you deploy information. That
Right.
is how companies train their people globally. I've worked for companies that train all over the world, and I'm able to do it from one computer. Um, so I got into a position. I had a really good mentor. Her name was Aziza,
Mm-hmm.
and she was an engineer and she was a tech person. And she was kind enough to sort of take my expertise and training. And, you know, she really took me under her wing, and she was able to answer a lot of my questions and show me how the systems work and how the integrations work. You know, God bless her. She took a lot of time to explain things to me.
So just
But I think
pause.
that's important. You have to
I
meet
would like
someone.
to emphasize a very important question which usually people ask, and I think you just walked us through, and there were some mentors earlier than you. Because the problem is people feel that we are confused, how to get to that sweet spot, what we want to do in life. But
Yeah.
as you also endorsed it well, it's the process of doing different things in which you actually
Hmm.
realize, and there where you start getting that sweet spot. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Katie, that you have to keep on doing different new things in life to get that sweet spot. Because if you start thinking in a closed room, hey, come on, what am I made to do? What am I born to excel? Who am I? You don't get responses, to be frank. You have to keep on making that
Exactly.
blurred list, test yourself in the ground, in the water, and then this is how, like, you started doing training, from the part of small job. Now you are like training millions of people working for such a big company and your LMS thing, and from moving from non-techie, because all the pluses and minuses you can manage in career, but you need to find that sweet spots. And this is where I think your
Hmm.
energy actually doubles, like we can see from your aura right now. So tell something more about, because I'm getting some tweets here, and if you can take that one, which says, hey, tell us something more about the learning management scope. If someone is new graduate, what are the scope? What do they need to learn, and how to get quickly into the career? Like, what is like a career life cycle and job description? If you can talk something more about that side.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just had lunch with a gentleman who's in college, and had basically the same question. He said, "What should I focus on? What do I need to know if I want to do what you do?" You know, my first piece of advice is definitely be willing to, you know, just face your fears. Like, life is scary, and a lot of people won't take opportunities. They won't try new things. They won't go into things that have offer them versatility because they're scared they don't know it. But that's how you get better. So that was really my first piece of advice for him. Secondly, the LMS space is very broad. There's a lot of components that go into training.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can be a graphic designer or an instructional designer. You can be a facilitator and be someone who's actually conducting training. You could be a tech person who's working in an LMS from a support role. Those are all little parts.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, most companies are smaller, you know, so unless you're getting into a bigger company with a big team, you're not going to get such a granular role. So it's a lot better, in my opinion, to pick up, you know, a little bit of each skill everywhere. You
Mm-hmm.
know, be able to understand what a SCORM package is and how to write a basic course in Articulate or some other authoring tool. Just the basics. If, you know, you can outsource that work or find an instructional designer when you can, but you need to know the basics of that. You need to understand the support role and how to, you know, be a client facing tier one support person. You need to understand how to work with SMEs, those relationships with trainers and the content specialists. I work in healthcare right now. I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor, but I need to understand how to communicate with nurses and doctors because the work they're doing is so important. I work
But
with care
summarize
management
the
training
whole
health.
process, and then you develop a e-learning module out of it, right? So you need to know the industry. But tell me something more. So that's another opportunity for people who have dual degrees, dual occupation experiences. Let's say you've been in the
Mm-hmm,
IT sector, healthcare sector, petroleum, software. Everything is now e-learning.
mm-hmm.
So I think you can. So there is a good point. Thank you, Katie, for emphasizing that. Any good tools that you would like to discuss with audience, that those who are really interested? Because I see a lot of mentorship calls and career advices from people about, coaches about new careers which are booming, and this is like amongst the third one in the list by 2020. So any good software tools that is frequently used in industry by you guys that you can share with audience, they can get hands on and look at if they want to do this.
Yeah, sure. So I would say you want to definitely make sure you're picking the right LMS. There's a lot of different options right now, and that selection process is very difficult. So I can't really recommend one specific system or platform to go with.
Yeah.
But you want to choose one that's right for your business. That's number one. I use lynda.com for a lot of my sort of personal development. Like I said, there's a lot of things that I didn't know and that aren't in my area of expertise that are important for my job. And that have helped me along the way. And lynda.com has been a great resource for me. Also, your local library and Google. I think reading every day and taking time every single day to try and learn something new about what you're doing is really important. As far as like learning instructional design and stuff, if you're able to get a free trial license for Articulate or any of the other authoring tools, they usually offer a 30-day trial. So if you're interested in learning that component of it, take advantage of those trials or ask your company to buy you, a business license so that you can play around with it and start to add value there. Those are probably the main things, I think.
Perfect. Well, that really works. That really helps. Coming back, because we have 5 minutes to close the talk. I know you're busy as well, and we are just approaching 15-minute talk. What are the 3 best habits that makes you, Katie, as who you are right now? Because habits are something very important part of one's life. So what would you name as 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, success is made from your habits. It's not what you do sometimes, it's what you do every day. So every day I sleep a lot. I think a lot of people confuse being successful with staying up all night and never stopping. I sleep 6 to 8 hours every single day. I have tons of energy, and when I wake up, yeah. When I wake up, I can focus on what I need to because I take time to rest. So get your sleep. People think that you shouldn't sleep, but you need to sleep. The other thing is eat well and take care of yourself. If you don't feel well, if your body's not running properly, and if you don't have habits in place to, be a healthy person, you're never going to find success. A lot of things that have to do with success and growth have to do with you more than anything else. So sleeping and eating, which people are probably really surprised about that. And then the third one is reading every day. You need to read every day, whether it is a book that you are reading, whether you just go on Google and look up something new. I'm a henna artist, and I was looking up the history of henna yesterday and reading more about Indian culture and all those kinds of things. It can be anything, but you need to expand your mind. You need to become an expert in your field, whatever that is, and figure out, once you figure out what you want to do, it's a little easier, but reading can also help you figure out what niche or what passion you need to follow.
Perfect. Readers are leaders. It's an old time say, but it's always.
Yeah.
So last question, just we'll close the talk, and it's wonderful, learning from you. I just want to talk for next 1 hour, but it's just, we keep it 15 minutes short because it's a working day. I know you're taking also time out of your busy schedule. Any message for the audience? Because the way you transform your life, you took the charge and to the level you are right now, not everybody can dream of actually. And there are a lot of fear people have. So what is your message that you would like to share with the audience, or the philosophy that they can also adapt in life?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm a stoic, and I believe that you are responsible for yourself. And I think a lot of people out there tend to blame circumstances, their history, things that they do and don't have. But when you actually take responsibility for yourself, and when you say, whatever happens to me is up to me, and that is the attitude that you carry day in and day out, there's nothing that can stop you. The road might be long, it might be tiresome, and it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult no matter who you are. But if you take responsibility for yourself and, take the time to figure out what it is that you want and don't let anybody stop you, I think you'll always get where you want to go.
I cannot explain it well better than the Katie did. Thanks, Katie, for your time. You've been really a wonderful mentor. We've been getting a lot of life. And the way it gets synced in, we get a lot of views. So thank you for taking time out. I think you'll be touching a lot of lives for people, especially who want to have a turning point now. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Bye.